Okay, so let me get this straight. Kari Lake wants to represent the United States abroad, but under oath, she admits she has no idea if her own cartel smear is even true. Watch this and hit subscribe.
Senator Kaine.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Lake, in response to a question from Senator McCormick, you said that you were proud of the way you ran your campaigns in 2022 and 2024. I want to ask you a question. On September 27, 2024, you gave a TV interview about your opponent, then House member, now our colleague, Senator Gallego, in which you said he is, quote, controlled by the cartels. His own father was a Colombian drug trafficker, and so he's got links to the cartel. A PolitiFact article on October 3, a few days later, rated that pants on fire. And the title of the article, and I'd like to submit it for the record, Mr. Chair, is In Arizona Senate Race, Kari Lake Fabricates Link Between Ruben Gallego and Drug Cartels. Now, this is pretty undiplomatic behavior. And just for my colleagues, I hope you might read this story. Ruben, our colleague, has written a memoir about his very troubled upbringing and about the fact that he was abandoned by his father, who then did get into criminal trouble. He was abandoned by his father. He had to be raised by his mother. He was so furious at his father that he changed his last name to be his mother's maiden name, not his father's name. He talks about graduating from boot camp as a Marine, and after years of abandonment, his dad tried to show up and take credit for his own graduation from Marine boot camp. And he writes about how furious that made him and still makes him. He writes about how ashamed he is of his father, how angry he is at his father. Abandonment by a father is one of the most seminal tragedies of life. I mean, go back to the biblical phrase, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? This is not something to fool around with. Ms. Lake accused one of our sitting colleagues of being controlled by the cartels. You had no evidence then, nor do you have any evidence now, that our colleague Senator Gallego is controlled by cartels, do you, Ms. Lake?
Well, we provided the receipts. The father was a high-level drug trafficker, trafficking hundreds of thousands.
You said that Ruben Gallego was controlled by the cartels. You provided no evidence. This was rated pants on fire, a lie. You had no evidence then, and you have no evidence now that Ruben Gallego is controlled by cartels. Isn't that right?
I thank you for the question, Senator Kaine. I do appreciate it. I don't know, and I'm not here to do reputational control or reputational
How about an apology to our colleague? If you made that claim he was controlled by cartels, and now you're saying you don't know what the facts are, then you're acknowledging that your charge was wrong. How about apologizing to our colleague?
I don't believe my charge was wrong.
Okay.
Ruben Gallego's father is a high-level
That's not the question I asked you.
He was a felon.
That's not the question. You asserted he was controlled by cartels. You had no evidence then. You have no evidence now. You're unwilling to admit it. And here's something that's even worse, Mr. Chair. That was during the heat of a campaign. Sometimes we say things during campaigns that we go too far. She's continued to repeat this as a sitting member of the Trump administration. A couple months ago, Ruben Gallego put out a tweet against the invasion of Venezuela. He didn't mention Ms. Lake. He just said he was against it. And she, at 2:35 in the morning, the following day, responded, "You are a member of a Mexican cartel family. You are also a fraud. No one is surprised by your take." She's continuing to repeat a lie. She just told the committee she has no idea whether it's true or false, but she was glad to say it, and she won't retract it now. That should be disqualifying. Mr. Segar, I got a question for you. Your role is not only to be the Assistant Secretary for which you're nominated, but also to be key on the Inter-American Foundation. That is a congressionally established foundation. It has sustained robust bipartisan support in the FY26 appropriations bill. Will you abide by the law which states, quote, the foundation shall have perpetual succession unless sooner dissolved by Congress, and commit to us not to take any action to dismantle or imperil the work of the foundation unless dissolved by Congress?
Well, Senator, Thank you for the question. And also, I just want to commend the work you did as a missionary in Honduras. I also was a missionary in Latin America. And so it's a beautiful, beautiful thing to do. As it relates to your question, I will follow all laws, Senator.
And so that particular law, that the foundation will have perpetual accession unless sooner dissolved by Congress, is one you will follow.
Like I mentioned earlier, I will follow all laws.
All right. Thank you.
All right, so here's the setup. During her Senate confirmation hearing for the ambassadorship to Jamaica, Kari Lake refused to take back her debunked 2024 claim that Senator Ruben Gallego was, quote, controlled by the cartels. Senator Tim Kaine pressed her for any evidence at all. She first claimed she had provided the receipts, then flat out admitted, I don't know. Asked to simply apologize, she said, I don't believe my charge was wrong. Think about that. She carried the smear from a failed campaign straight into a federal confirmation in front of the very committee deciding her nomination. And watch this part, because it's where the dodge starts. Kaine doesn't editorialize. He just reads the receipt into the record. A PolitiFact fact check dated October 3rd, 2024, rated her claim pants on fire, their most severe rating for a falsehood. The headline says it plainly. Lake fabricated a link between Gallego and drug cartels. That's not Kaine's opinion. That's the documented record, entered right there in the hearing. So let's slow down on that rating, because it matters. PolitiFact didn't just call the claim weak. They said Lake fabricated the connection, leaning entirely on the criminal history of Gallego's estranged father. Not one single thing the senator himself ever did. And she couldn't even keep her own story straight. She called the father a Colombian drug trafficker when he was actually from Mexico. Law enforcement never established any link between Gallego and a cartel. Zero. That's the foundation this entire attack is built on. Now watch how Kaine grounds this in something real. He points the committee to Gallego's own memoir, where the senator writes about being abandoned by his father, the same man who later got into criminal trouble. Listen to how Kaine frames it, because he names it exactly. Pretty undiplomatic behavior. He's not exaggerating. He's describing what it looks like to weaponize a man's childhood trauma for a campaign hit. And the memoir is the receipt that makes this worse. Gallego was so estranged from his father that he changed his last name to his mother's maiden name. He writes about graduating from Marine boot camp and how after years of abandonment, his dad showed up trying to take credit for it. Kaine called abandonment by a father one of the most painful tragedies of life, and he's right. Gallego himself responded, saying he made his own way and built a life his father had no part in. So, Lake didn't expose a connection. She took a man's worst pain and turned it into an ad. But here's where the defense fully collapses, because you could almost forgive a line crossed in the heat of a campaign. Kaine knew that, so he closed that door himself. Watch him reveal that Lake didn't leave the smear on the trail. She kept repeating it, long after the votes were counted, as a sitting official inside the Trump administration. And here's the receipt that ends it. After Gallego posted on X opposing a potential invasion of Venezuela, not even mentioning Lake, she replied at 2:35 in the morning, "You are a member of a Mexican cartel family. You are also a fraud. That wasn't a campaign. That was an administration official broadcasting a lie at 2 a.m. Put the timeline together. She admitted under oath she has no idea if it's true. She said it anyway, and she won't retract it. As Kaine put it, that should be disqualifying. That's not confusion. That's a choice. And this is the part to remember. When Kaine says it should be disqualifying, he's not throwing a punch. He's stating the standard. A nominee admitted she spread a claim she can't back up about a sitting United States senator, and then refused to take it back. That's the whole case, and she handed it to him. Now zoom out, because this isn't a one-off. Lake's nomination lands on top of a stack of legal defeats. A federal judge ruled she unlawfully assumed control of the U.S. Agency for Global Media, the agency overseeing Voice of America, The court voided her mass layoffs and ordered more than 1,000 sidelined employees back to work. And here's the kicker. The judge found her appointment violated the Constitution's Appointments Clause. Congress then appropriated roughly $500 million more for that agency than she asked for. A bipartisan rebuke. They didn't just disagree with her, they overruled her with money. And watch the contrast in that same hearing. When the next nominee gets a simple question, will you follow the law on a congressionally established foundation? The answer is easy. I will follow all laws. That's what it looks like when you've got nothing to hide. One clean question, one clean answer. Lake couldn't manage that about her own words. And one last receipt, because it tells you everything. Lake's own State Department Certificate of Competency claimed she won 2 Billboard Music Awards. The producer of her 2023 protest song says she never won one, just a chart plaque, and the Billboard archives list no win for her. So here's the line. Next time someone says Kari Lake is fit to represent this country, ask why she lies about an award on a federal document and about a sitting senator under oath. That's the whole story. She wanted the headline. She wanted the smear. But the second Kaine put the record in front of her. All she had was, I don't know. Full stop. If this gave you value, hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.